church is supposed to be a beacon of light. It's supposed to be God's people that gives the entire world an example of what you should be in anything, how a man is supposed to be a man, a woman's supposed to be a woman, how a marriage is supposed to work, how you're supposed to raise your kids, how they should be taught and educated. All of that should come from the church. So we should have a dynamic of older couples that are prepared to teach and help younger people in marriage so that they're not looking for outside sources. Marriage needs to be defined by God. It was instituted by God. It is arranged by God. It is defined by God. If we step outside of that, even the qualifier that you give just now, a successful marriage, what is that as it relates to God's word and not what the world looks at? The world leans into things like happiness. Well, what does God say about marriage? You'll never find a verse in the Bible that tells us that our marriage is for happiness. The world will tell you that. And when we follow the world in happiness, we start mixing it with God. And guess what we say? Well, God don't want me to be unhappy. Says who? Like, he didn't even tell you about marriage being happy. Marriage is about being holy. So when I understand that marriage is a work, it is a union that God establishes, an institution of bringing two together to give earth a reflection of what heaven looks like and to extend his kingdom and his agenda into the world. This is a ministry. It's not just, I'm cute, we cute, let's be cute together. Like, this is a ministry, a work that is teaching. So there are times in marriage that you may not feel happy, but this is a work, and it has implications presently and generationally. There were things that were going on in Abraham and Sarah's marriage that affect us today. So what me and my wife are going through, we have to work through that, not from I don't feel well today or I'm having difficulty today. No, this is going to affect our children. They're going to get a view of life and understand life and marriage by watching us. Our grandkids, our great-great-great-great-grandkids, their life is affected. I may never get to see them, but their life is affected by how great-great-great-granddad and grandmama held together in marriage. There will be a time that she's not going to look like she did when she was 20. Her body's not going to look that way. And guess what, guy? You're not going to look that way. There's going to be a time where your bodies are going to physically change. It's not going to work like it used to work. It ain't going to feel like it used to feel. If that's what your expectation of marriage is, and that's what the world sells us. Marriage is not about happiness. Marriage is not about sex. Marriage is not about me. It's about God's purpose for man and woman in his creation, because this thing that you're going to go through in marriage is going to change cyclically. Almost every 2 to 5 years, you're going to face some changes in your marriage. When you have kids, that changes the dynamic. When you change jobs, that changes the dynamic. Someone gets sick or has an injury or an accident, that's going to change. And if you've based your entire marriage on what social media tells you about love, what social media tells you about happiness and about the idol of me, you're going to miss marriage and you're going to blame marriage because you're going to say the marriage isn't working. No, y'all aren't working. Or you'll say, we're just incompatible. You were incompatible when you got together. You're two different people. You're bringing in 20, 30 years of history together, and God is putting that together. Yes, there will be differences, but because I understand what God is working through me and my wife, I understand his purpose, we're working through this. So when I go through issues with my wife, I have to look unto Jesus, as Paul would tell us. If she's dealing with me, she's got to look at Jesus. And it's not always peaches and cream. It's a work. But when we work according to our purpose, oh man, it's the most beautiful thing in the world. We do need to lean in more in teaching and preaching what marriage is supposed to be, what love is supposed to be from a godly perspective, so that we can get our families right, not leaning into what the world wants And even from this dynamic of, well, if you ain't doing me right, I got options because I can get food stamps in Section 8 and you on the curb. No. We got to make this thing work because this is a ministry of God.